Welcome everybody to the Africa Colloquium, hosted by the Centre for Commonwealth Education. It's really nice to see so many people here this afternoon. Very warm welcome to all of you. This symposium or colloquium is a kind of presentation showcase of the events that have been going on in the CCE over the last few years. CCE's been here for around 5 years, and we've done quite a lot of work in Africa. It's one of our main the main area we've concentrated our work in. So today we're just going to be showing you some of the ideas and projects that we have been involved with over the last few years. So what else do I need to say? The centre has been funded by the Centre for the Commonwealth Education Trust, and we're pleased that Judy can join us today, and we're very grateful for their support. It's been a really vibrant place to work, and I hope that you'll see a little bit of that, a sense of that, as we go through this afternoon. So as you've seen from the programme, we've got 6 talks. There was a change from the original. We've got 1 substitution, but hopefully you have seen the new programme. So we're going to have 4 talks to begin with, and then we'll have a tea break, and then we'll have a couple more talks, and then a general discussion session. So I hope that's okay, what people were roughly expecting. Okay? So we'll start with the first talk, which is ours. So Louis will time us, just in case we go wrong. Should put that on full screen. Okay, I should have introduced myself, I guess. I'm Sarah Hennessy, in case you don't know me, and this is Bjorn Hassler. And we're going to be talking about our work in Zambia, where we've been producing some professional development resources for African teachers. That's where Zambia is, just in case anybody isn't entirely certain. And it's a country that is fairly low on the Human Development Index. It has a pretty transmissive kind of a pedagogy in its schools. And in the teacher colleges, there is some mention of interactive teaching, but we don't see very much of that in practice in the classrooms. So we've developed a program called the OER for Schools program, which is sustaining professional development over time for Zambian teachers, with a focus on learning, student learning. So here's a sort of overview of what the resource focuses on. It's about supporting interactive teaching, particularly in the areas of science and maths at primary level, with and without technology use, because obviously many schools don't have any technology. And these are the kinds of topics that it contains: group work, whole class dialogue, assessment for learning, inquiry, and working with other stakeholders. And this is an overview of the process involved, if you like. So we've been working with some teachers over the last couple of years to develop this resource and this kind of way of working. And it's a sort of iterative process of encountering new ideas, of considering the fit with current practice, reflecting on the new approaches. So it might be going around in this sort of a direction. In particular, we have some interactive practices displayed on video clips that we've taken from the teachers, by filming the teachers that we've worked with in the Zambian classroom. And we use those as a stimulus for reflection and discussion. So teachers might see those kinds of things and some other materials, and then they might try out some ideas and perhaps some new uses of digital technology in the sort of safe environment of a workshop with their peers. Then they might plan a lesson or just an activity, and then go and try that out in the classroom, perhaps be observed by peers, and then reflect individually, and then coming back to reflect with peers in a workshop situation, and perhaps making some modifications, and so on. So new techniques might build on previous ones. Right, hand over to Bjorn at this point.
So these are the 3 key ideas that we use in our program. I'll just very briefly go through them and say what we mean by them. So the first one is really interactive pedagogy. So what does that mean? It means things like whole class dialogue. We have teacher feedback to students. And all of this are sort of some of the pedagogical ideas that underlie the professional development program that we have, OER for Schools. In a typical session, so the program is organized in sessions. There's 5 units with about 4 to 5 sessions each. Each session is a 2-hour workshop, and during these sessions you draw on some video clips, there's some text, background reading, you'd come across various ideas and all sorts of other resources. So one of these resources might be something about inquiry-based learning. Again, to keep it really short, I won't go into it, but you can actually look it up online in our resource and look at the inquiry-based learning chapter. Here's another example. Here's a picture as a stimulus. Teachers in the workshop might then be thinking what's behind this idea? What can you do with it? How might you use it in the classroom? Here's another example of a video embedded in the resource, again with some questions for reflections, but also right at the top there's an educator node or a facilitator node. So there'll be a peer facilitator. If you can run the program lots of different ways, but one way of running it would be to use it as a school-based professional development program, and that would have a peer facilitator. So there's some notes there for the peer facilitator that helps them clarify their own thinking in advance of the session and think through the kinds of activities that they would be doing with their peers. This is now a little video that I'll show you. Again, it's part of the resource, and I'll just let you watch it. Oh, why does it not play?
No,
Oh, click that, okay.
Does it? Can you try? Yes. You hold? Okay, you can try. Breathe in. As much as you can, you breathe in as much as you can. Okay? Now you blow through the straw. Wow! That's good!
So background to this activity, typically the teachers nor the students would have any idea what the capacity of a typical lung is. Is it like this or is it like this? Is it like the whole room? There's like absolutely no kind of concept of this. And I don't know whether you saw the markings on the plastic bottle, but there's some work that then takes place whereby the plastic bottle gets marked out, and you think about first you think about how could lung capacity be measured, then you think, well, we could do it like this, mark out the plastic bottles. And this was sort of the demonstration part of that activity. So the students would then be going away and try this out and then try to extract some meaning from that data. How does lung capacity change with height or sex or chest circumference and so forth? So that's an example, and the teachers will encounter that in the resource and then sort of take that as a stimulus for discussion, for developing their own ideas and so forth. Okay, I'll go through the other stuff really quickly. Right, so I've already said this. So these are some of the questions that the teachers might be engaging with as they look at this. Really important, our resource is freely available online, oerforschools.org. It's Creative Commons license, so the license has already been given for anybody to use it. We're continuing to engage with lots of partners, but actually, if you just found it and you wanted to use it on your own, you could do so without needing to ask for any further permissions. And so that introduces the idea of open educational resources. Our resource is an open educational resource. And we think there's particular links between interactive pedagogy and open educational resources. I'm not looking at Sarah because I'm probably going too slowly here. So I won't go into that, but we have lots of background material on that you can read. We also use open educational resources within the resource for classroom use. And here are some of those examples. And our resource also intimately links digital technology into that process, and there's links between open educational resources and digital technology. I won't have time to go through this. We already have the 2-minute warning, but we have 2 minutes 45 according to my clock. So again, these linkages, we can give you lots of papers and other written stuff that goes into those things. I'll now hand back over to Sarah to talk a little bit about the research program.
Yeah. Okay, so these are our questions. What supporting and constraining factors influence the introduction of interactive pedagogy and ICT, and what was the impact on teachers' practice and thinking? So we're going to talk just today briefly about a trial we did at one school, a semi-rural school just outside, an hour's drive from Lusaka. We worked with all the grades 4 and 6 teachers, and a Zambian teacher worked with his peers in the workshops. So these are the kinds of data that we collected: videos and lesson observations, recorded the workshops that the teacher ran, and interviews, audio diaries using dictaphones, and portfolios and so on. These were some of the challenges that emerged. Some of them won't be surprising to you, I'm sure, if you're familiar with the sub-Saharan African context. But these were the kinds of things that the teachers reported as obstacles to introducing new approaches and introducing ICT. These were some more of the findings. What the teachers were actually doing was beginning to take on board what children already understood and knew about the topic areas. A bit of a shift from what we call telling to listening, with the children actually leading some of the activities. This was a quote from one of the experiences of inquiry-based learning, which is something very new in the Zambian context. The teachers and the students had never really done any kind of inquiry. And they went out on a field trip, which was quite exciting. Okay. We found the teachers were including more of the students. That in the past, it just used to be 2 or 3 with their hands up. This became a much more inclusive and collaborative working environment. Teachers were working with their colleagues, and importantly, they were raising their expectations of what pupils could do, and of course, using digital technologies in their teaching. These were some of the uses that they made through going through the OER for Schools program, a whole variety of things, using mainly tablets and laptops, netbooks. And there were some changes for the students, according to the teachers. They were building a deeper understanding, and they were more actively engaged and remembering things better. No, skip on that one. So just to conclude about what this is not a one-off short-term intervention or training kind of a program, as you can see, and nor is the focus on the technology. The focus is on the pedagogy. It's not a model of best practice. It's some new ideas and approaches that teachers can have a look at and see how they relate to what they're doing at the moment. So just to conclude with Bjorn's sort of triangular diagram, again, these 3 pillars, if you like, can reinforce each other and promote learning for teachers and for students. And we hope also that the program can be used in pre-service education. At the moment, the in-service program is continuing in that school. All of the teachers are now on board. I think it's about 35 of them. One Laptop Per Child program in Rwanda is very interested in using the OER for Schools approach, rather materials on their tablets. We're working with the University of South Africa as well to introduce interactive teaching and ICTs into their advanced diplomas in education. And we have some other links in progress with other pre-service things. That's details for where you can get more information if you'd like. So thank you very much indeed.